This is the story of how a league continues to shoot itself in the foot while their golden goose lies injured on the sidelines, and how the WNBA finds itself in a devastating financial freefall, watching helplessly as their entire empire crumbles without Caitlin Clark on the court. It further demonstrates that this league has learned nothing at all about protecting the one player who single-handedly brought them from obscurity into the spotlight. Admit that reality is costing them millions of dollars every day. The data is there, and we saw that the WNBA's viewership dropped by more than 50% during the 5 games Caitlin missed earlier in the season. Not just for the Fever, but the entire league. In this era of manufactured drama and social media controversy, facts are as uncommon as sold-out WNBA games without Caitlin Clark. The harsh reality of the league's reliance on one player was made public when Clark was sidelined on May 24th due to a quad injury. Now that she is out again due to a groin injury, who knows when we will see a recurrence of the injury. It is likely due to compensation, but you must be careful, because if you try to rush her back from this injury as well, you're entering a situation where a very serious injury could occur. The Indiana Fever is what Caitlin needs to avoid as much as possible. Therefore, if Caitlin is out for 3 weeks or for the entire All-Star, then the WNBA's nationally televised viewership fell by a startling 55%, with games involving the Indiana Fever seeing a 53% drop in viewership from an average of 1. When Clark played, there were just 847,000 viewers out of 81 million. Without her, however, this story becomes completely absurd, and by absurd we mean predictably disastrous, for a league that refuses to learn from its own mistakes. Since Clark went down, the WNBA's ratings have fallen by more than 55% overall. Guess what, guys? The WNBA's Caitlin Clark is the player who suffered a left quad strain on May 24th, and since then, national TV viewership has fallen by 55%. Her team's average score was 1. While Caitlin Clark was busy doing what she does best, filling arenas to capacity, breaking television rating records, and generating unprecedented revenue, the WNBA was busy doing what they do best, doing absolutely nothing to protect their most valuable asset. 81 million viewers, nearly 2 million since her injury, and less than 850,000 accountable for 5% of all WNBA revenue, so it makes sense for opponents to target her without consequence while lecturing everyone about basketball plays. This is concerning for the league because this is a pivotal season for the WNBA, and at the end of this season, the WNBA will enter into CBA negotiations. If the talks go well, then every WNBA player has a much higher chance of earning a significant salary or in their next contract. And that's one thing when you consider how many people stopped watching when Caitlin Clark was hurt. Many of them did so because they boycotted the WNBA, refusing to watch any other teams or players, whether they like them or not, because of how the media and the league itself have treated Caitlin Clark and her fans. What's especially interesting is, by any chance, what's really worrying about this is that this exact situation has happened before, and the league doesn't seem to be able to learn from its own past. This isn't the first time the WNBA has seen its revenue and ratings plummet when its biggest stars hurt. It's like watching someone touch a hot stove and get burned, then instantly reach for it again while saying they had no idea what would happen. 1 month into the regular season, Caitlin Clark has already missed time due to 2 injuries. The first was a left quad strain, which is obviously concerning because you don't want it to be that player who's constantly hurting, coughing, and embedding coughing like Anthony Davis. I sincerely hope that the Fever will keep her out of action for a while, because you don't want her to sustain more long-term injuries and be more. Financial destruction has been swift and brutal, and if you are enjoying it, please subscribe. The average ticket price for Clark's missed games dropped from $13.77 to $80.00, a startling drop that shows who really generates interest in these league road games that have been moved to larger arenas. The cost of tickets for Fever games has also dropped by 71%, with some tickets going from $860.00 to just $250.00. Chicago Sky versus Fever rematch, one of the season's most anticipated games, saw ticket prices plummet from $210.00 to $95.00 in order to meet the demand for Clark tickets. The matchup, which previously drew 2, is now having trouble filling venues that would have been crowded with her presence. It was one of the most viewed WNBA games ever, with 25 million people, yet without Clark it becomes... I think the WNBA successfully broke in Caitlin Clark, a seasoned sports journalist whose upcoming book, On Her Game, Caitlin Clark and the Revolution in Women's Sports, promises to expose the league's failures. Well done, man, on another game that casual fans don't care to watch. Your ratings will drop by 55 to 60% once more. The WNBA continues to fall short of the expectations of the most outspoken critics of the league's treatment of their star player Brennan after yet another incident in which opponents targeted Clark. People are watching like never before, and this is what they see. Brennan's criticism goes right to the core of the issue, as the league has data indicating that Clark alone attracts more than half of its TV audience, yet they still permit her to receive cheap shots and hard fouls that have no other purpose instead of trying to intimidate their biggest attraction. It's like watching a restaurant owner let patrons harass the chef whose food is the only reason people come in. Tiger was a huge deal in men's golf, and his absence affected the ratings, but nothing like that. And Michael Jordan's absence might have affected the ratings by 5 percentage points or something. You can make a strong case, and I will make that case and have that no single athlete is more crucial to their sport, tour, or whatever circuit they play on than Caitlin Clark is to the WNBA. The pattern has become both predictable and frustrating, with opponents who appear more interested in making statements than playing basketball, fouling Clark hard 5 times out of the league's 30 flagrant fouls in 2024. With the Chicago Sky accounting for 80% of those fouls when she reacts to, while the financial impact continues to destroy not only the Fever, but the entire WNBA ecosystem. The league was already predicted to lose $50 million 0 cents this year, despite the Clark-driven surge in popularity. Without her on the court, those losses are increasing at an alarming rate. Because of the physical play, she is criticized for being too aggressive, and when she doesn't respond, she is criticized for being soft. I'm not even sure where to start, man. I hope Caitlin Clark is okay. I want to know when this injury even occurred, because let's be honest, she had a quad injury. Mind you, Caitlin Clark hadn't missed a game since she was about 19 years old. She was like 18 in college or something, and now she has a groin injury. We've never seen Caitlin Clark play as poorly as she does now. The most damning part of this whole situation is that it was entirely preventable. Clark entered the league as a modest rookie who constantly praised her teammates and diverted attention from herself. She handled criticism with remarkable grace and maturity for someone who was only 22 years old. She's like one for 22 years old. Has she been hurt and playing through this 2 years old? The league had the opportunity to embrace her, protect her, and use her popularity to elevate the entire sport, but instead they let jealousy and small-time politics ruin what should have been a celebration of women's basketball. The impact of Clark's injury goes far beyond television ratings and ticket sales. Corporate sponsors who made millions of dollars based on the growth driven by Clark are now wondering if their investments were wise. This situation highlights a fundamental issue with how professional leagues protect their stars and uphold competitive integrity, while high school drama clubs create controversy in the hopes that someone will take notice. One thing I admire about Caitlin is that she's tough and a warrior. The WNBA seems to be torn between wanting to be taken seriously as a professional basketball organization and wanting to embrace every bit of manufactured drama that might generate social media engagement. You hear me, bro? You simply don't see players like her. I apologize for not seeing many female basketball players. As I mentioned, the comparison to other professional sports leagues is glaring and embarrassing. Can you imagine how quickly the NBA would shut down and suspend players if it permitted them to target LeBron James with dirty plays for months while claiming it was only a competitive sport? When your own fans say they won't watch games without your biggest star because they don't trust that the games will be fair, the WNBA appears perfectly happy to allow this destructive pattern to continue, seemingly believing that any attention is good attention. The league's failure to protect Clark has created a toxic environment where fans are refusing to watch other WNBA games because they no longer trust the sport's competitive integrity. I believe that the physicality and all of the hacking and fouling that goes on are Blindsider by Marina Mabrey. I think that all of this is having an impact in wearing you down, and all you are doing is hurting yourself because the numbers will continue to decline, and trust me, when it comes time for that collective bargaining agreement, they will point to this and say, well, how can we give you guys all this money? What happens if she gets hurt? Each incident involving Clark should have served as a wake-up call for the WNBA to set clear guidelines regarding player protection and competitive integrity. But instead, each one has been met with, the league should have been working to prevent Clark's injury, which is given the clearest evidence of her value to the organization, is shown by the same old tired responses about basketball plays and letting the players play. The 55% drop in viewership isn't subtle, but even with this obvious evidence, there's little sign that the WNBA has learned its lesson. League officials continue to make statements about competitive balance and letting players play. They continue to treat routine basketball plays involving Clark as major incidents while ignoring actual dangerous plays against her every day because of the way they play the game. I love the WNBA and the way they play the game, but we are really watching because Caitlin Clark is playing and everyone is listening. If I keep bumping her and knocking her down, you might cause her to suffer a concussion. Since she was out for 2 weeks due to a hamstring injury, she lost 55% of the audience. When she returns for the next game, there are roughly 3 million viewers. Now, let me tell you something that is taught to you growing up in the neighborhood. Always protect the money. You guys keep hurting her, and even though she is gone for a year or two, no one will watch it. If no one watches, how are you going to make and generate money? The WNBA needs to make some difficult decisions. They must make decisions about the type of league they want to play in, start acting like one, set clear rules for player protection and enforce them consistently. They must also stop letting made-up scandals overshadow the real basketball being played. And most importantly, they must acknowledge that their biggest stars, the ones who actually pack arenas and drive television ratings, are the ones who matter most. Deserve protection from the kind of harassment and targeting that only serves to create drama on social media. The WNBA's continued decline in revenue and viewership without Clark serves as a stark reminder of what the league was before she came and what it will become again if they don't alter their strategy. This season, the league averaged just 555,000 viewers, far lower than last year's average of 670,000. These figures indicate a return to what impressed me more was the pre-Clark era of deserted arenas and pointless games that only diehard fans bothered to attend. I saw thousands of kids wearing what are known as Gill Kids on their way to the game, but where were they wearing Dylan Clark jerseys? Were they wearing Fever jerseys, Iowa jerseys? Whatever she played, it was whatever she played. The most tragic part of this whole situation is that it didn't have to happen this way. With proper protection and promotion of their star player, the WNBA could have used Clark's popularity to build a new game. It didn't just happen because of Caitlin's style of play, but it was what we were. Parents brought their kids and their friends, and that's what they didn't understand. The seats were filled with kids. Instead, they have built a house of cards that falls apart the moment their top player leaves the court. Until the WNBA learns to safeguard and promote the players who truly generate interest in their league, they will continue to experience these boom-bust cycles in which the presence or absence of a single player determines whether or not anyone pays attention. The question is whether the WNBA will eventually learn to protect their golden goose, or whether, according to what we've seen thus far, they will keep up this destructive trend until they have totally wasted the chance that Clark's popularity has given them. At this point, the league isn't the smart money. Gaining common sense